Hi, I'm Chef Alan Tatro with Global Sugar Art, and today I'm going to show you how to make a great filler flower spray. They're very similar to Freesia. I'm going to be using a Freesia cutter, and I'm going to call them Freesia, but it's my own version of Freesia. Often when you see Freesia, you will see them bent like this, and the little buds are all sticking up in a row, like little birds on a telephone wire, and then a couple of the blossoms go back. When you're using those on a cake arrangement or in a large arrangement of flowers, they don't always look great the way they naturally occur. If you bend the buds down, then you get a nice spray that looks really nice. So this is the Chef Alan version of Freesia. We're going to start with the buds. For each spray, I'm going to do 5 buds, and I'm going to use 5 pieces of fondant. What I do is I figure out how small I want my first one to be. So maybe that's my smallest, and that's my largest. And then from there, you just need to figure out the 3 in between. So you just want each one a little bit larger than the one before. And that's really all there is to it. I could take a little bit off that one. This is a guessing game. There's no perfection in flowers. There doesn't have to be perfection in what you're doing here. I'm going to get some 26 gauge wire ready to make these. You can use 24 gauge as well. Either one will work fine. And I'm going to cut that in half and then in half again. I don't need these to be very long. If I'm making a bunch of them, I'll just keep them all together, get all the ends nice and even, and then use a pliers, and I'm just going to bend over a little hook on the end of each one. So they're all done all at one time. You're going to need some white floral tape, and I cut this in thirds, so this is a 1/3 width cutter, and you can use like the gem tape cutter or whatever tape cutter you have available to get a nice thin 1/3 width. So I'll get some tape ready. So you'll need some gum glue. Water will work, but gum glue is going to work a lot better. So I have gum glue, I have my wire, I have my tape, and I have my pieces of fondant, or excuse me, of my gum paste. This is 100% gum paste. So start by kneading the piece of gum paste. And I want to get a nice round end on there. The other side I don't care so much, but I want to get one nice rounded end. Use the end that's going to have all the seams in it. Use some sort of a little stick, like a cell pin, and make a little hole. This is my own method of wiring these, and I think it works really well. Most people slide the wire through, and what you end up with is a bunch of glue on the top, and then when you go to shape it, your hands are all sticky. Speaking of that, I'm going to have a little bit of cornstarch ready to put on my fingers. So I'm going to dip the end in a little bit of glue, and I'm going to put it right in that hole, and then I'm going to pinch around the wire, and that way, there we go. That way, I haven't pushed the wire with glue on it through the top and gotten glue all over the bud. That's often how you see them made. Now, to shape this, I just put my fingers like this. I want that top to be sort of bulbous. I think that's the right word. It's got to be a little bit rounded. There you go. Kind of looks like a pear. And then taking a little palette knife, I'm going to cut, I want 6 even divides. So I'm going to do up to the top, so that's 1. Then I'm going to do 2 and 3. Then I'm going to go right in the mark of the one I just did so that they all meet at the top. And now you can take a look at that. And that's divided into 6. Then take a little pair of scissors and you're going to cut two little, they're almost like little sepals that are coming off the bottom. And that is the largest bud. So you're going to complete that process with all 5 buds. So if I'm making a lot of these, I will divide all my pieces of gum paste up in the 5 sizes, and I'll put them all in a piece of plastic and just cover them. And then I'll make all the buds ahead of time and let those dry before you finish your flowers. That's all there is to it, to making the bud. That was the easy part. Actually, the whole thing is easy. Now for the flowers themselves, I used a little PME Freesia cutter. I rolled out some paste to about a number 4 on my pasta machine. Mine starts at 0, or excuse me, mine starts at 1. So if yours starts at 0, you'd want to go to about a 3 or a 4. And I'm going to use one of the cell pads. Now there's 2 sides to the cell pad. There's the spongy side and there's the firm side. We're going to use the firm side. I'm going to take 2 of these. And the first thing I want to do is I want to elongate these petals. So I'm using a little roller. This is just a little cell pin. And I'm going to roll them out. Now if you make the paste a little thicker, if you go down like maybe just to a 2 or 3, you can roll them out longer. And that gives you different size of Freesia blossoms, which looks more realistic on an arrangement. I'm taking a small brush and a little bit of gum glue, and I'm going to put that in the middle, and I'm going to put this one right on top, and I'm just going to let that set a minute while I prepare my wire. So you've got your wire all ready to go. You've made a little hook in it. These are the same wires that you use for the buds. I'm going to take 3 of these small dull white head stamen. The reason I'm using 3 is because this is a 6-petal flower. There's generally, in the lily family or in a lot of flower families, there's generally 1 stamen for every petal. So just bend those in half. Put the hook through it. So now I have the hook and the stamen together. Now I'm going to put a little piece, a very small piece of tape. I just want to cover, you barely saw that happen. I just wanted to cover enough to hold the stamen in place. I don't want to make a big bunch there. Now, the next part is the part that a lot of people don't do when they're making Freesia, but I find this makes life a lot easier. Take a little bit of glue, I already had some on my brush here, and just lightly glue that wire. I just want it tacky, I don't want it really wet. Take a very small ball of paste, gum paste, and push it up. Put a little cornstarch on your fingers, and I'm going to wrap that. It's going to squeeze that around until it totally covers the tape. And then I'm going to just remove what I don't need. So basically what I've done is I've created a small sheath of gum paste right over the tape. Now you can put a little dot of glue in the center of your flower. Put the wire right in the center. Pull it up, and you're going to pull it part way through. And then flip it over and just pinch it. Now, Freesia are not a perfectly formed flower with 6 even petals swinging around in a nice circle. They're sort of haphazard. So I would just now hang that to dry on a hanger. I had a hanger. Well, I'll get one in a minute. Anyway, you just hang those upside down to dry. That's how you make the more closed one. Oh, thanks. We're going to get our hanger right here. Thank you. There's a little hanger. We're just going to let that hang. And if you want, after about 10 minutes, you can stick them in just insert them in a piece of foam, and they'll open up a little bit. Again, with flowers, it all depends on the humidity in your room as to how fast they dry. and whether they need to hang longer before you stand them up, and they'll open up just a little bit. But I do want to show you how to make a fully open one, because for the further down on the spray you want more open flowers. So again, I'm taking 3 stamen. I'm taking the wire. I'm going to put those in half. I'm going to put a little piece of tape. And I'm going to take a little piece, I'm going to get a little glue on there first. It doesn't take much glue. Put it through the paste and just pinch it around. The glue will hold it right onto that wire, and then just roll it around between your fingers. And then you can just pinch and pull off what you don't need. You just want to cover the wire, that's all. So I have that ready. Again, for these, you're going to roll about. And I want to show you one other technique, especially for the more open flowers. If you want them to have a little bit of texture, this is a gem veining tool. And you're just going to go side to side. You could do this on all of them, but I find if you're making a closed flower, it doesn't really show. So my thought is, why do something if it's not going to show? All right, so now we have a little bit of veining in those. Little glue in the center. Add your second set. A little glue there. Now these are these are made by Cell Cakes. These are called cell formers, and these are little foam cups that you can use to dry flowers in. And I just took a needle tool and I put a hole through the bottom so that I can put the wire through. So I'm going to put that on the flower. Just pinch the flower to the paste and put it right through. And then I'm going to dry it just like that. I'm just going to bend that wire so I can sit it on the table, and then I'm just going to lay it down, and that way you can get a nice open flower. That's perfect. So just set that there to dry. Okay, now to color these and to put them all together, let's see. I have some all made that are dried. I usually let them dry overnight. And for this particular arrangement, I'm going to use this is one of our Global Sugar Art colors. This is Carnation. And this is one of the more open flowers. I cut this one a little bit thicker so I could roll them out longer. And I dried that in a former. You can color these however you want. Just Google Freesia and look at all the different varieties they have. Sometimes there's color on the back. There's a multitude of ways that you can do these. Let's see. Let's do a couple here. All right. And I've got a couple already done. And the buds, I like to do just the very tip. Sometimes you can put a little green on the bottom if you'd like. That always looks really nice. I'm just giving suggestions. I don't have to do everything so that you know how to do it. And then I like to top coat them with a little bit of natural pearl. This isn't super pearl. This is natural pearl, which has a more ivory color to it, which I think looks really nice on flowers. It'll also soften that pink color that I put on them. Okay, so I would do all the flowers and all the buds, and now we can wire them together. You're going to use the same 1/3 width of white tape. Have an extra piece of wire on hand, and this is the 22 gauge wire. Sometimes I add this into the spray to give it a little more stability as I'm making them. So I'm going to get my 5 buds. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is still wet, so I'm not going to use that one. From smallest to largest. And then I have flowers right here ready to go. So start with the very smallest bud. Start your tape and then bring it all the way up to the top. And then start taping down. And now you're going to add your second bud. I usually like to, let's see however I can get the camera here. I like to add them so just the tip of the bud is just where the last bud ended. And then tape down a little bit more. And then you're going to add your third one. And the fourth one. Each one gets a little bit larger. And the last one. Now this is where I find these wires are rather flimsy. They're not going to hold the spray really well if you want to put it on a cake and be able to shape it. So this is where I'll start adding a 22 gauge wire. And I'll start with a couple of small blossoms. There's one. We're going to put about 3 of the smaller ones. Each one comes down just a little bit from the next one. And then we'll put 2 large. And then tape it all the way down to the end. With that 22 gauge wire in there, I now have a spray that I can maneuver. I can easily move it around. I'm just going to get yourself a pair of long, thin needle nose pliers. They're very different from the traditional needle nose pliers, and they're great for working on flower sprays like this. You never want to grab a petal and move a blossom. That's the quickest way to break your flowers. Always use a pair of pliers and reach in and actually just move the wire. And then you can shape the arrangement however you choose. There. The buds are different. You can touch those because there's no petals on them. Now if I were using this on a cake, I most likely would bend this into a spray that looks more natural. And then you could have that draping off a cake, or in this case I had them draping down all over. That's basically how to make the Chef Allen version of a Freesia spray. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Everything that I use today is on our website at globalsugarart.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.